Hey everyone. Today I thought I'd create a quick video showing something that a couple of people have asked me to show. And in this case, this is how you go out and create a Power Virtual agent and then connect it back to Dynamics 365. So in this example, I'm going to use one of the common scenarios that I work through, which is to create a maintenance bot that goes out and looks up information inside of Dynamics. So let's start. So what I've got here is I've got my Power Virtual Agent. And what I've actually done is I went out and I added a new bot and I created a new bot, which is my groundskeeper bot, because this is um, going to be a certain type of maintenance bot that I've got in the system. And then after about a minute or so, it goes out and creates my blank virtual agent. So when I look at this virtual agent, then we'll start looking at this agent. We've got a number of items that we can manage here on the left-hand side, and we've also got our test conversation bot that we'll work on. Now, the way that the Power Virtual Agents work is that they have some topics that people ask, and the topics are questions which will be asked by the user, and then they'll be translated into conversation sort of threads within the Power Virtual Agent. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new topic, and I'm going to an asset. So I want to look up an asset in the system. So what I can do is I can say an asset. So I can say the phrase that I want to do is look up an asset or find an asset. And I'm just going to have as many phrases as I want here within my trigger phrases. Now, so let's minimize that. So this is now we're inside of the uh, conversation format that we've got here within the system. So what I can do is I can go out and I just create a conversation thread here. We can go out and we can create, we can have questions, we can have conditions, we can call actions, which we'll see in just a second. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say a message and say, okay, looks like you want to have me look up an asset. And I'm just going to have whatever conversation I want here in this view. So now what I can do is I can test this and I can say find an asset, and then and actually I'll need to save that, but we can start testing this and we'll see this in just a second. So let me just save this. We'll try that once more. Now the building of the bot is going to be sort of an iterative number of steps as we move through. But the as we sort of work through this after I save this, then we'll be able to go out and uh, test our assets. So let's try again. Find an asset, and it says, okay, looks like you want me to look up an asset, and it's showing me the flow down here. So, but what I want to do is I want to ask a question, and what I'm going to say is, what asset do you want me to look up? And then I'm going to make this a response. So there's predefined items here, but I just want to have a response. And then this is going to put the value into a variable. So I'm going to say asset ID. I'm going to rename this variable so I can use it later on. And what this is doing is this is going to allow me to save this and use it in other topics if I want to, but I don't want to do that right now. So if I say find an asset, then it says, okay, what are you looking for? And I want my ear knife. I want to find out where it is. So that's the conversation that the system's going to go through. So now what I'm going to do is I need to look up data within Dynamics. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an action, and I'm going to call an action. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a Power Automate flow. Now there's already some um, here already that I've got created, but I'm going to create a new flow in the system. So what's going to happen is this is now going to take me over to Power Automate, where I can go and create my lookup information that I've got. So we've got the starting point and an ending point. So we've got the inputs and then the outputs, and my input is going to be my asset ID. So I'm going to ask for the asset ID, and then what I'm going to return back is I'm going to return back the description of the asset. And I'm just going to give it a value. So now that I've got this item here, and let me say groundskeeper. So I've just given this a name so we can identify it from the other flows. But now what I want to do is I want to go out and do something here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an action, and I'm going to look up information in the system. Now, previously I've gone out and I've taken all of my asset details, and I've published these as virtual entities. So if we go down to here, then I can see all of the different tables that I've got, and one of these is my asset management assets. Now, I'm going to run through a couple of steps as I go through here, because what I want to do is I want to filter out the rows to just the one that I asked for based off the description. Now I'm using a list so that I can go out and do a filter, but I want to find the field that's associated with it. So I'm going to go through a little bit of a step, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I just want to get the first row so that I can get a result out. And then I'm also going to add in an action here, which is a compose step. And I do this so that I can go out and I can say that I just want to get the first item. Now, when I use the list rows, it returns back a list of items. So I just want to go out and say, I want to return back the first value. That will give me one value from this link. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. So we're not quite finished yet, but I'm getting there within the system. So I've now got a Power Automate flow that I can use that's being saved. That's at least going to return back the values of some assets, and then I'm going to make a quick change, and I'm going to filter this out so I can get just one asset. But to test this, I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to say I want to call an action. And this has now gone out, and now that I've created my Power Automate flow, then we'll see that I've got my groundskeeper lookup an asset flow here. And it has a value here, which is the asset ID that I want to pass through. So I'm going to pass through this variable that I typed in here. Then it's going to run this flow, and then it's going to return back a description. So I'm going to add a type of message here and say, we found your asset, and it is called, and then I'm going to insert the description. So this description is being passed back from the Power Automate flow. So let me save that, and then we'll test it, because this doesn't quite work yet because we haven't gone out and found the right asset. But I'm going to sort of cheat a little bit and then test this out. So let me say I want to find an asset, and then I want to look up my ENI 101. So that's going out, and it's going to run this flow for me in the background, and then it's going to return back the response in just a second after it's done that lookup. So we can see that it's running here in the testing, and then it said that we found the asset. It's called insert because I actually haven't found that yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return back here to my flow, and I'm going to do a little bit of debugging. So this has gone out, and this allows me to see the flow. And then we go out and we can see all of the data that's being returned. So as we go through, then we can see all the different fields. Now I want to go out and filter based off this item, this field. So really what I want to do is just find that, and then also find the name. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save away this JSON file, because we'll use that in just a second and I'll save some time. So let me go back and copy the field that we want to search on. And I'm going to edit this. I'm going to make a couple of quick changes to this Power Automate flow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a filter and say when the asset ID equals, and then we've got the asset ID that's being passed. So now it's just going to return back the asset that I want. And then also what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my favorite functions here, which is parse JSON. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it the output value that I have here. And then I need to create the schema, but I don't have to create that by hand. What I can do is I can say I want to generate this from a sample. I'm going to copy all of this data here, paste it in. So this is all the data that gets returned back, and then say done. And now what I can do is I can actually over here search for description, or the asset description, or the asset name actually here, and I'm going to paste that in. So what it's done is it's filtered it out for the asset I'm looking up. It's gone and found the first one. It's parsed it out so that then I can access this, and then I'm just going to save that. So this step of filtering and parsing is something that I do a lot in the system. So now, if we return back, I can say I want to find an asset. And it's going to say what asset do I want to look up, and I'll say NIF 101. It's going to run that flow and look up that asset record in the system, and then it's gone out and it's ran that flow, found the description, and now it's giving me some more information. So I can go out and I can find the location of the asset. I can find a number of different things. But in essence, this is how we go out and just create a simple process flow. Now, also what we can do is we can go out and we can publish this asset, this bot if we want. So I'm just going to click publish and save all the values here. And then we can go out and we can tweak this a little bit. So now that I've published it, I can actually change some of the details. So I'm going to give this a little bit of an icon, and then I can change the name if I want, and I can publish this. Then also what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the channels and I can test this. So I can go out and I can use a demo website to look this up. And what I'm doing is I'm just finding I'm just giving it a URL. Then if I create a new page here, then this is going to give me a site, and I could say find an asset. And now it's going to run, it's going to say on NIF 101, and then it's going to find that and return that for me. So the bot is working now and returning back information. But what I can also do is I can go back to here and I can cancel this, and I can say I want to publish this in Teams. So when I publish this in Teams, I can say I want to turn on Teams for this bot, and then it's going to add the Teams channel for this bot for me. And then if I say I want to open this bot in Teams, then it's going to open the bot for me. I can add this into Teams, and now I've got my groundskeeper here bot, and it's giving me some information. I could say find an asset for me, and then this is going to say, again, it's going to say what do I want to look up, and I could look up NIF 101, and then it's going to find that information and again return that to me. So what I've done here is I've done something pretty easy. I've just gone out and started to look up data within Dynamics directly from the Power Virtual Agent. But you can this as complicated as you want and have more information being tracked here within the bot. And I've gone out and created examples where I'm querying assets and then creating maintenance requests for them, or you could go out and look up other information like customers and so forth. So this is just a quick 15-minute overview of how you go out and create Power Virtual Agents, but I thought it would be interesting to go out and show that just in case you want to try this out yourself. So um, happy happy building, everybody, and I'll watch out for more videos from me.